I'm Marla Miller from marlamiller.com, presenting Critique My Query for the Writer magazine. We've been doing this now since I think mid-summer. Before I critique this query letter, I want to give a shout out to those of you who have sent letters, but you haven't cut and pasted them in the email. I need them to be in an email. I don't open files for obvious reasons. I've sent emails to those of you who have sent them in files, haven't got back about 6, and I was just going through my list and I realized that there's about 6 or 7 of you who did not reply. So if you're listening to this one, go back and cut and paste your query and then I'll critique it for you. Okay, here we go with this one. This is fiction. Excuse me. Dear Blank, I am seeking representation for A Life Unknown, a 115,000 word count women's fiction novel. In reading information from your agency website, I felt that you might be interested in my story. A Life Unknown begins with Gabrielle McIntosh taking an excursion to a small town in the mountains of Wyoming in the spring of 1996. Encouraged by her husband, she is looking forward to a few days away from the demands of her career and family. After a devastatingly brutal attack, she awakens to a home and a husband she has no memory of. Gabrielle's injuries require a lengthy recovery period, during which time she and imposter husband Derek develop a deeply loving relationship, and her true family mourns her assumed death. Only her twin brother, a renowned journalist, is convinced Gabrielle is alive, and he's using all of his resources to find her, or at least uncover the truth of her disappearance. Gabrielle does regain her memory and find her way home, but on the journey she learns much about herself, about the strength within that can carry us through even the worst nightmares, and the true meaning of undying love. Writing and storytelling have always been a passion of mine. Having retired from a background of insurance and banking at executive levels, it's finally my privilege to have the time and opportunity to focus on writing. I assure you, accepting advice, following through, and meeting deadlines are second nature to me. Per your submission guidelines, I have sent a query letter, the first 10 pages of my manuscript, and a synopsis. If you are interested in the novel, I'm prepared to send sample chapters or the entire manuscript. I appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely. Okay. Length of this query is good. She says that this is a women's fiction, and then in the second paragraph, which we post so you can follow along, in the second paragraph she distills what A Life Unknown is about. In that second paragraph, that reads like a suspense to me. It reads like something happened, and it has to be solved. And in fact, she does tell us that her brother eventually does solve it and everything turns out okay. So I'm a little confused because this definitely reads like a suspense to me. And, it could be women's fiction / suspense. So that's one thing that I noticed. The other is that I think that she hasn't done the story justice in terms of summarizing it enough to hook us. I think there are parts of it that are very interesting. The fact that she goes away, she gets brutally attacked, and then falls in love, I think, with her perpetrator is kind of interesting. She doesn't spend much time with that, though. And in the third paragraph, then, she says she regains her memory and she goes home, having learned a lot of lessons. Well, I can see that's a women's fiction, relationship-centered story, but she's confused me. So if she's confused me, that's not a good thing. If this is a story about a woman who was attacked, falls for her perpetrator, then slowly regains her memory and finds her way back home, I think that that's where I would put more emphasis on that part of the story. The fact that her brother is playing detective also supports my sense that this is a suspense or a thriller, which is cool. Those are good stories. So I would encourage this writer to, again, I don't know what this entire story is about, but if she, let me do some guessing, because this is what we do in real-time workshops. One of the questions that I would ask this author is, When it's all resolved and she learns life lessons, are those lessons, do they have to do with the fact that maybe she's not in love with her husband and was in a relationship that was, very heavy on status quo, but not much on romance or passion? Because it sounds to me like she found it with this guy who beat her up. Now, if she hasn't found it with the fraudulent husband who calls himself Derek, then she's sending me down paths that I shouldn't be going. In the business, we call those red herrings. So if her second paragraph is filled with red herrings, in that this, what sounds like a suspense really isn't, then I think I think that she needs to look at that. In her fourth paragraph, when she muses about her love of writing, that's cool, but I wouldn't put it here. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines that she could cut it all out. I would cut it all out and develop more of the story summary. And remember, in a query letter, you really don't want to tell the whole tale, because if you've told the tale, why would an agent want to read the book, right? So if this is a happy ever after, everything resolves, I would spend less time telling me that and more time developing what happened from the attack to the time that she, I'm going to assume, gets rescued by her brother. I don't know. But do you see how this query letter has confused me? And so if it's confused me, chances are it will confuse an agent or an editor that you are pitching this to, and that's not a good thing. So I would encourage this this writer. Wait, there was maybe one more thing. The last sentence that she writes, if you are interested in the novel, I'm prepared to send sample chapters or the entire manuscript. Since she has already said that she's followed the guidelines of this agent that she's pitching to, if the agent wants it, the agent is going to tell her. So I would cut that out as well and let her know that the novel's ready to ship. That's what I would do. And again, cut out that fourth paragraph and really look at the second and the third paragraph, because I think that that's where the real work needs to be done. And I won't say too much more than that about it, but sometimes we start out writing a genre and then the narrative arc just goes its own way. And while she might have started out writing a relationship story, it might have turned into a thriller, and that's not a bad thing. But if it is a thriller or it is suspense, I would definitely label it as that, and then develop my summary of what you want this agent to read around that. If it isn't a suspense or a thriller, then her second paragraph really needs a lot of reworking, because that's what I'm led to believe that it is. I hope that this is helpful. Jump on and add your comments if you're so inspired. Again, send me your query letters at marketingthemuse@gmail.com and cut and paste into the email body. And until the next time, be well and keep writing.